Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Sarah, owner of Exhale Massage and Yoga, and welcome to your practice. Today we're going to focus on a few key elements of an authentic yoga practice, meaning helping us to align with the goal of our practice per the Yoga Sutras, which is to quiet the mind. And I wanted to focus on a couple of these elements because they're things that are often missed in online yoga instruction, which there's so many sources. So if maybe you have a favorite online yoga practice source or several, but find that it's really kind of diluted to just the physical postures, the asanas, you might be able to incorporate these in to create a more well-rounded practice. And you won't necessarily need to spend as much time on each of these as we're going to today. I'm going to really kind of take our time getting established. But generally speaking, and these three elements that we're going to focus on today are breath, specifically optimal diaphragmatic breath, which is really the foundational breath from which any other breathwork pranayama practice kind of comes out of, relaxation, shavasana, and meditation. So if you have a home practice, or again, you're watching a video of some kind, I would say ideally you're aiming for at least 2 or 3 minutes of just a grounding posture. So could be seated, could be on your back, but a position that feels fairly effortless, where you can connect into the inner space of your body and establish that breath that will then carry with you through your practice, right? You really want your breath to be at the center of your practice. And then at least 5 minutes, I'd say, for Shavasana. And while meditation might be a standalone practice for you, it works really well, becomes a little more accessible for many people when it's at the end of a complete yoga practice. Because sometimes just trying to sit for meditation, kind of cold turkey, so to speak, can be really challenging because our mind is still going, a million miles a minute. But after we have spent this time coming into our breath, moving through postures, through relaxation, it's like putting the brakes on the car. And so at the end of that practice can be a time to work with your meditation, especially if that's something that's challenging for you. So again, feel free to take from this what is helpful to help round out a practice that you might have elsewhere, or find this as a standalone practice. We're going to spend this entire half hour in deep rest. So whether you're needing a nervous system nourishment or kind of reset, this could be lovely to listen to right before bed. You can do the whole thing laying in bed. I invite you to join me for this. So I'm going to stay seated so I can just, clearly speak to you. But I laid out a few props. So if I was participating, if I was receiving this practice today, I would likely have a bolster for under my knees to support my low back. And I'd have a blanket or a thin cushion under the head to support the neck. So please feel free to pause this video to gather whatever props or resources, even things like socks to keep your feet warm, whatever you need to be really cozy, to kind of build your nest, so to speak. And then come back when you have that set up. If you're ready, you're going to go ahead and lay down on your back, again, either on the floor with your props, or maybe you are cozying up in bed. And take a little bit of time to really arrange kind of the big parts of your body, right? So noticing if your shoulders need to wiggle about, maybe you need to adjust your hips, maybe clothing is bunched up in some odd way. Maybe you're taking glasses off and setting them to the side, or resting them on your belly if you want to keep track of knowing exactly where they are. So making any of these big adjustments so that you can settle into comfortable stillness. And just land in this space. where for the next little while, no matter what else you have going on today or this week, in this time and place, there's no to-do list, there's no one you need to be serving, there isn't somewhere else you need to be. Just settle into that awareness. Invite the weight of your body, all the parts of your body, to really rest and settle into the space beneath you. And then bring your attention to your breath. If you can, you're breathing in and out through the nose. You can start by simply being curious about that breath. What does it feel like? You might notice the temperature of your breath, cooler as it enters the body, warmer as it leaves the body. You might notice that your breath flows more easily through one nostril than the other. You might notice qualities of your breath, the length, the depth, whether it feels smooth or sticky. And what parts of your body find expansion as you breathe in. So many of us are conditioned into this shallow kind of upper chest breath, where instead of primarily engaging the diaphragm, we're using these accessory breathing muscles so that as we breathe in, our chest is what kind of puffs up, and the belly might even draw in as this happens. So notice that for sure if you find that. But maybe, hopefully, you feel the belly rising as you inhale. You feel the ribs expand a little bit. You might feel the back body pressing into the floor or your bed. So from this place of noticing, we're going to begin to lean into the qualities of optimal diaphragmatic breath, which in a perfect world is how we'd all be walking around breathing anytime our nervous system is not needing to shift into fight or flight because of some danger. Ideally, this would be our baseline, and for so many reasons, it often is not. So it requires some practice. So the first quality of the breath is deep. And not deep from pushing or straining into making it bigger, but softening into that depth. If you'd like, you could even place your hands on your belly. Think about pulling that breath into the deeper part of the lungs, so that as you inhale, your whole belly rises. The second quality is smooth. And this goes right along with that idea of softening into our breath. So you might have noticed that there are places in your breath that feel like they kind of skip a little bit or just feel kind of sticky or tight. This can be challenging, this effortless effort, right? Where the effort is in surrender and letting go, not trying more. So can you smooth out the breath by softening those structures around your breath? The third quality is even. So inhales and exhales about the same length. The fourth quality is continuous. See if you notice any significant pause between your inhale and your exhale, or your exhale and your inhale. And can you smooth that out so that your inhale flows right into your exhale? Exhale flows right back into the next inhale. And the last quality is quiet. Doesn't mean it has to be silent, but recognize that noise in the breath, significant noise, indicates congestion or constriction in some way. So spend a few more moments leaning into these qualities of deep, smooth, even, continuous, quiet belly breath. Remember that this can be a practice all by itself. It really can be done anywhere and has such wonderful benefits, implications. You might already notice that your muscles are softening, that your stress level is settling a little bit, that your mind is starting to quiet. So if you were moving into an asana practice from here, this is where you'd begin by letting your movement start small and then get bigger and then move through whatever sequence you're moving through, while keeping your attention settled onto your breath as much as you can. And while some asanas, this breath might change a little bit, right? In a twist, for instance, it's not going to be as deep. You still want to be able to feel like it can be smooth and even. If you are struggling to breathe well in your asana practice, you're holding your breath, it feels sticky, your breath is speeding up, that's your body telling you something. Listen to it. All right? Today, we're going to go right into our Shavasana. So before that happens, as you're on your back, wherever you are, if you feel like you need any kind of movement or stretch, this is a great time to find it. Maybe you find just some wiggling of fingers and toes, a repositioning of a body part or two, or maybe it's some kind of a full body stretch before you come back into this place of stillness on your back. And while you're finding that, just to give a little context that many people have the experience when Shavasana is included, which it isn't always in Western yoga classes, that you're told to lay down and close your eyes, and then it's kind of crickets, right? You're left to your own devices. And for many of us, that means that our mind is then thinking of all these things. We're making grocery lists in our head. So I'm going to guide your Shavasana today, as I do for most of my classes and students. If you find yourself in a class in Shavasana where it feels like it's challenging to keep your mind focused and there's silence, please feel free to kind of bring my words into your mind's eye. The goal in Shavasana is this conscious relaxation. This is where we digest everything else we might have done that day, come into this place of rest to bring that nervous system back to its rest and digest baseline, to release what does not serve us before we go back into the rest of our day and lives. So hopefully by now you have settled back into stillness if you found any movement. Let your attention come right back to your breath, but now we're going to let go of trying to change it or alter it in any way. And now we've already done some noticing through the body. Let's kind of move through once more with a little more of a fine-toothed comb. So I'm going to name some parts of the body, and as I do, I invite you to bring your attention to that place. And if you notice spots where you are holding or gripping, maybe give yourself a little bit of gentle permission to soften those spaces, to let that go. So beginning with the crown of the head, the forehead, the eyes resting in their sockets, the right side of the cheek and jaw, the left side of the cheek and jaw, the tongue resting in your mouth, the right ear, the back of the head, the scalp, the left ear, the place where your head meets your neck. Soften the back of the neck, the upper back, the right shoulder, right elbow, right wrist, the palm of the right hand, and the tips of the right fingers. The left shoulder, left elbow, the left wrist, the palm of the left hand, and the tips of the left fingers. The upper back, the spine, and the muscles around the spine. The mid back, the spine, and the muscles around the spine. The low back, the spine, and the muscles around the spine. The right hip, right knee, right ankle, sole of the right foot, and the tips of the right toes. The left hip, left knee, left ankle, sole of the left foot, and the tips of the left toes. Soften the pelvic floor, the inner space of the pelvis, and the organs within that space. The belly, the organs within that deep center space, as well as the surface of the belly, rising and falling as you breathe. The center space of the chest and the organs within that space. The center space of the throat. The deep center space of the head. The crown of the head. Soften and relax the entire body. There's nothing you need to be on guard for or bracing against in this moment. If you are listening to this before going to bed, stay right where you are and continue to soften and breathe. If you are preparing to move back into the rest of your day, then you'll come to seated for a brief meditation practice. So wiggling into fingers and toes. Let your movements be small and gentle, and make sure that you roll off to one side for at least a few breaths before coming to a comfortable seat. So again, if this is before bed, you can stay right where you are. If you have more of your day, joining me seated with head, neck, and spine tall, eyes closed, hands resting comfortably. So for meditation, the goal is to bring your mind to a single point of focus. And that could be a mantra, silent or aloud. It could be a guided visualization, perhaps rotating your point of consciousness around the body or around visual. But one tool that we always have with us is our breath. So once more, bring your attention to your breath. And this time I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness to the space just beyond the nostrils. The place where you gather breath to bring into the body. And follow your inhale from that space beyond the nostrils to the center space of the forehead, kind of in between the eyebrows, but deeper than that in the sinuses. And as you exhale, let your awareness trace from that center space of the forehead out to the space beyond the nostrils. Inhale from just beyond the nostrils to that deep center space of the forehead. Exhale your awareness from that deep center space of the forehead to the place just beyond the nostrils. Continue to gently trace your awareness along this pathway with your breath. So please feel free to continue this meditation practice as long as you'd like. If you are preparing for sleep, perhaps you even continue that gentle, focused awareness of that pathway of your breath until you drift out of consciousness. And if you have more of your day, either now or when you're ready, maybe take just another few moments to notice how you feel in the entire space of your body. Notice your breath and your mind state. And let the good stuff digest so that you can take it with you through the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me today. Peace, peace, peace. Be well and take good care.